So, welcome to the Business Edge brought to you by Technologies Now. And this is a broker's perspective episode. At Technologies Now, we help businesses use AI, automation, and smart client acquisition systems to streamline operations, capture more opportunities, and grow with less friction. Today, I'm joined by Heather Gustafson, founder and principal of Franklin Rose Real Estate Advisory, a strategic real estate development and investment advisory firm helping developers, owners, and investors shape high performing residential and mixed use properties. Heather, welcome to the show.
Thanks, David. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start from the beginning. I don't know, remember if I gave you a warning or heads up. I was going to ask this question first, but when you were in eighth grade, did you expect to be doing what you're doing right now? Did you expect to be in real estate?
Wow. You did not give me a heads up,
Good.
but maybe that was by design. I don't know, but I'm super happy to answer that on the spot. In eighth grade, I thought without question I was going to be a pediatrician. I love kids and I thought I wanted to help them in a medical capacity. And I ended up spending some time with a cousin who is a surgeon and got to see a little bit behind the scenes in high school and a little early college and realized kind of quickly that it was not for me. I don't have the stomach for it. I don't have the stomach for blood, for scary things. So while I still love kids, I just have two of my own and keep the doctoring to the pediatrician. So I never really thought that I was going to be in this spot. But as I'm talking through this, and I sometimes talk about this with people when they're like, how did you ultimately get into this? I have always loved homes. I have always loved the idea of the home being the backdrop of people's lives. All of that said, I grew up with a amazing but single mom, and we had sort of a cozy apartment. And when we would go trick or treating, I would, rather than be really interested in the large size candy bars, I would be really interested in the houses, how they felt on
That's
the
interesting.
outside, how they looked on the inside. I'd like kind of peek in and try to like see what was going on with the wallpaper, with the furnishings. So it's always been something that I have loved. I love the idea of home and bringing home and again, backdrops to people's lives to them. So I'm a junkie for interior design and beautiful materials and architecture. So although I didn't know it in eighth grade, I found my way, I think, to my calling.
Oh, that is awesome. So what was your journey? Where'd you start as far as your professional career?
Yeah, no, that's great. I had the privilege of working in house with Four Seasons hotels and resorts very early on in my career, and my husband jokes now that that's why we can't travel like normal people.
I
And
can see that. That
really
makes sense. Yes,
really
yes.
quickly learned about the luxury hospitality segment, how real estate and service and amenities and what it feels like to walk into a lobby, whether it's the smell or the sound or the sights, how all of
Yes.
that plays into experiences that people have, in many cases worked very, very hard to have. So Four Seasons was just this incredible training ground for not only how to design beautiful spaces, but how to service clients. From there, I worked in house with a Chicago based developer for 13 years and worked on the sales floor for large scale new construction condominium projects that ranged anywhere from around 120 residences to a 714 unit project in the heart of Chicago's financial district. I worked in a sales capacity and then ultimately as vice president of business development, where I helped look at sites, at optimal pricing, at floor plans and amenity programming, and really just truly fell in love with the design, the architecture, and the building of again homes for people. I worked in house with then a local brokerage in Chicago and really got to see how a strong brokerage operation works and what goes into everything really from A to Z from a brokerage perspective. So
Mhm.
really, I think rounded out my development experience with a true, high-end brokerage experience. And then after that, went to Compass, talked with Robert Refkin and a really great guy named Justin Diadamo, who was running the new development division for Compass at the time. And we talked about launching the new development division in the Midwest and really, found that it was such an incredible culmination of everything that I had done, working in the luxury space, working
Mhm.
in the hotel, a branded residence space, and ultimately in the real estate brokerage space. So I was managing director at Compass for about 7.5 years and had the privilege of working on some really wonderful projects in the Midwest and Nashville. Fell into that market and I just fell in love with everything that was happening in Nashville. It's just such an incredible city where there is so much growth and energy and potential. So I was, very, very fortunate to be exposed to that market via Compass. In January, about a year and a half ago, I started Franklin Rose
Right.
and I launched that as a result of, again, all of the experience that I'd had. And what I wanted to do was bring my experience and what I thought was really lacking in the market to real estate developers, to family offices, where I could focus on planning and design. So, really getting involved in floor plans and amenity design, on programming, on pricing models. So, what should residences of this type be priced at, the corner of Main and Main? Marketing, of course, which is really
Yes.
fun. I love getting involved in marketing, like, what does this project want to be? What's the personality? Who are the buyers? Branding, bringing that under one roof as well. And then, of course, sales operations, which I had a great deal of experience with as well. So just really bringing all of that together in a boutique format where we can move fast, make quick decisions, and really focus on what's in the best interest of the developer and the project, not necessarily what's in the best interest of anything but that. So that's truly my North Star. So that was about a year and a half ago and is going so great. And we have grown and we have new wonderful team members that allow us to service projects at the very highest level. So I'm having a
Mhm.
really, really good time with it.
Oh, I can see this is a culmination of all your work. I mean, even from Halloween time looking in the houses, right? That prepped you for everything that happened after that, clearly, and then you were, I'd say, 4 seasons service trained. That's a great way to think about, your next steps into the real estate space. That's really perfect. So explain what your company does. Let's just go directly there right now.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
kind of talked around it a little bit, but who do you serve? Who do you best? You talked about your North Star, but who's your client? Who you
Yeah,
after?
yeah. So Franklin Rose is able to service a couple of different, and we do service a couple of different buckets. One is in sort of the most natural fit. And I guess all of these are natural fits, but what
Okay,
comes to
right.
mind first, I guess, is the real estate developer because I have decades of experience in the space in really honing in on what new construction, luxury development projects need. So collaborating with, and I really look at myself as an extension and a partner on real estate development projects. We can get to one that I've been very, very focused on and have found just a great deal of inspiration and joy from in Nashville and beyond. But we can get to that when you're ready. But so I'm
Okay.
really working with real estate developers on everything from start to finish, to imagining a project, determining highest and best use, determining what size units the building will be made up of, helping configure the amenity spaces, collaborating
Mhm.
with the architects, the designers, just really helping to create what that vision wants to be, all the way to the branding, to the marketing plan, to overseeing the marketing and the budget and all of the things that come with that, to working with the sales teams and training, coaching, helping just helping the sales teams be the best that they possibly can. So that is, someone said to me the other day, "You're really like a head of sales." a head of strategic partnerships, and I actually am doing that for one of my dear friends and clients who I met years ago in Nashville. So that is, Franklin Rose has sort of evolved into a head of sales strategic partnerships brand, which is something that I just love and feel grateful to be able to do every day. The other bucket and something that needs to happen in advance of all of that is land acquisition. So
Mhm. Okay.
helping to understand the buy box for a developer, understanding what they are looking for in terms of either rents, sales, programming, whatever that means to a sponsor, to a developer, and helping to find and analyze and push through sites that fit that mold is also something I have a great deal of experience in and love doing. It's sort of like finding the canvas, the blank canvas,
Oh, nice. Right.
and then imagining what it can be in, you know, these projects take time in 3, 4, 5 years. So that is something that I have wonderful connections around and love doing on a national basis. And this was something that came up sort of organically. I've had a lot of friends, people in our circle who are building homes. They're building custom homes. They're building a second home. They're building maybe something that they're going to use and then rent out, short term rent or Airbnb when they're not
Right.
using. So they've looked for some consulting around that. So that was one of those things that didn't happen by design, but I have had a great deal of joy helping and utilizing my knowledge and skills to help friends, family, and people around us who are building new construction homes, whether for themselves or again to benefit from. So that's what we are laser focused on.
No doubt about that. You have your different tranches that you specialize in, and you've lit up talking about every one of them. But it was really interesting to hear about the site selection piece of it. You're like, it's a blank canvas, and I get to go find this, and it's got to take a lot of creativity to figure out and articulate. If you're supporting a developer, how that could all look. I can just imagine how you. I mean, how would you describe? You found this piece of property. Would you say? And then we're going to put the houses or the condos over here if it's mixed use, or how do you describe that if that's what you're trying to say? Hey, this is a great parcel based on what we talked about. Here's how I envision it. What would you say
Yeah.
as an
Yeah.
example?
Yeah. I mean, I think understanding the need is critically important. Just as an example, we're working on a project with a developer, CA South in Nashville. We've worked long and hard over the last year and a half or so on creating a brand that's going to be flexible ownership residences that appeal to buyers who want to live there or who wish to rent them out when they're not there or just buy a straight investment. So when you're creating the buy box for the modernist where future projects can go, as an example, it's important to look at locations that will support that brand. So where people want to not only buy, but where they want to vacation. So you look at walkability, you look at close proximity to attractions that guests are going to want to enjoy, whether it's for business or for leisure. We look at the size of the lot. So, as an example, we need to have at least an acre to program a building that fits really nicely within CA South's goals for the modernist. I think, you look at demographic, you look at, is the city growing or is it stagnating? Are people moving in? Are they moving out? A city like Nashville, and as an example, there's tourism, there's hyper growth from a business perspective. And at the end of the day, there's people who want to live there, not leave there, very tax advantageous with very low and favorable property taxes relative to other cities in the country and no state income tax. So people are like,
That's
they're
nice.
doing
Yes.
business there. It's easy to do business there. Those are cities that, as an example, the modernist product works in. So I think it's really understanding the product, understanding the client, and ultimately understanding what the goals are for the project that will sit on that blank canvas.
That is perfect. So let's jump right into Tell us about Nashville. Why Nashville? You just absolutely love Nashville, and you live in Chicago, right? Is that correct? Your
I do
business
live
is
in
in Chicago?
Chicago. I do live in Chicago. I'm based in Chicago, and Nashville again. I think life is. It's funny how it brings you to places that you may not have been seeking out intentionally.
Mhm,
When
right.
I was hired to work as the managing director at Compass, that was for the Midwest and Chicago, and we saw this overwhelming potential in Nashville, and Nashville sort of ended up falling into my bucket, because it was only an hour away from Chicago. It was just that. It was like, I'm really close, it's easy, it can be a day trip, and, what a wonderful blessing, to have found a city that for what I love to do is just absolutely booming. I love the culture. I think the music culture, and the entertainment culture is really fantastic. I think again the fact that it's so business friendly. It's just easy to get things done in
That's nice.
Nashville
Yes.
without so much red tape. And uh, again, people are living there, they're moving there, they want to live there. And there's growth. There's companies coming in like Oracle and Alliance Bernstein, and the list goes on and on. And as a result, you have cranes in the sky, and you have buzz, and you have people who are optimistic. It's just really it's really a great city, and it's fun. So
Well, that's perfect. So easier to get business done. Obviously, it's fun. So easier to get business done and less red tape than Chicago, maybe? You don't have to answer that.
I think no, I think listen, Chicago is my home architecturally. It's hard to find a better city. I think from a dining perspective, Nashville's certainly becoming one of these sort of dining epicenters, but Chicago's restaurant scene is very, very hard to match. And it is a fantastic city, whether it's over the holidays, and I know people can't stand the weather, but that's arguable.
There's that. Yes.
But, whether it's over the holidays or in the summer, like, Chicago comes alive this time of year. People are out and about, it's bustling, and I think, unfortunately, Chicago's gotten a bit of a bad rap, but it truly is a wonderful world-class city. I would, personally love to see more development happening in the city. Hopefully, that is, ultimately on the forefront. But, Franklin Rose, my goal and part of the business plan was to be armed with the tools to focus certainly outside of Chicago, outside of Nashville, so that we could, work on projects, service projects, partner on projects around the country, and if I have it my way, maybe international at some point.
Yes, that sounds good. Yeah, that's perfect. Chicago, yeah, Chicago gets a bad rap. My son lives in Chicago. He lives by Wrigley Field, and he's
Yeah,
definitely having a lot of fun. I would say
yeah,
that. And
I bet.
then he talks about the winter's so cold and terrible, but then the spring comes and you forget all about it.
You forget,
Yes,
yeah,
yeah, that's totally it. So he's back into that. Totally forgot about it. He's having a great time, and so yeah, the weather's coming back at least. I
and
don't know if
maybe
it's
maybe
all the
he's
way
at
there yet.
Wrigley today. I think there's a game at 1.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't keep a schedule, but yeah, well, we need to get back out there ourselves to go visit. Great place to be. He's been there for a few years, but
For sure.
anyway, not the point. But that is a good segue to Heather, when you're not working real estate and, helping your developers and friends, et cetera, what do you do? What do you do for fun?
So, it's funny, my husband jokes that he knows me and our dear friend who is a newscaster who found, like, their perfect career, that it feels absolutely like fun and joy. And in launching Franklin Rose, I wanted work to feel like joy and like fun. And if it didn't, to not do it.
Right, right, right. Steer away from that.
And,
Right,
yeah, to steer away, to be like, "Maybe this isn't for me."
right.
And, that has come, and there's not a moment that goes by that I'm not incredibly grateful for that privilege. So, truly work feels like, something that I really love to be doing and enjoy doing, but I do understand that, like, not doing it all the time is healthy, and that's a healthy mindset. So, I love being with our kids. I'm fortunate to have a great relationship with our son, who will be going to college next year. So hard to think of that.
Yes.
And even though so many of my dear real estate developer friends have said, "Are you sure about this?" He's laser focused, and has really built his very early resume around becoming a real estate developer. So we have like
Oh,
all of
love it.
this fun around that. I've been fortunate enough to be able to bring him around to meetings and to job sites. He was walking construction sites before he could walk. So so fortunate to share that with him. And our daughter is on a path to hopefully, if all goes well, professionally ballet dancing. She has
Kidding.
found
Wow.
this love of art and of ballet, and her goal is to dance in Europe someday. So, really I think spending time with them and sort of absorbing who they're becoming and what their joys are is something that, my husband and I just take like the greatest amount of pleasure in, and we feel like, they are our North Star. It's sort of why we do everything that we do. And I think at the end of the day, we're just really enjoying this stage of life with them. I'm fortunate enough to have dear friends from college, from the town that we live in, and I try to spend as much time with them, with those moms who are sort of going through the same stuff in life and that sisterhood that we have together. And I think health, wellness, a lot of what we're infusing into our buildings, as an example, at the Modernist, is so important to us, and it's important to me. So I carve out time to whether it's going to bar 3 or going for a run or playing tennis, albeit not very good, or golfing with
All
our
right.
son
Right.
and my
Right.
husband.
Yes.
Our daughter's not as big into golfing, she likes the outfits, but outside of that, she'd rather
That's
be on a
awesome.
stage, but, like, I think getting out and being active and just, enjoying health, wellness with friends is huge, and then, I love to travel, I love seeing new places, I love seeing how people live, when traveling, whether it's Europe or anywhere, I just really enjoy living like a local and having a nice Airbnb and walking downstairs with, maybe at the same time that people are going to work. Like it's cool. Just
Uh-huh.
living and absorbing new cities and new places is something that I love doing. So that's it. That's it.
Yeah, sounds like
That's what I do.
that is everything you do. We've encompassed absolutely everything, I'm pretty sure, because I'm guessing there's no more time in the day by the time you've done all these things. So that makes perfect sense. So that being said, before we wrap up, let me ask you kind of one more question. So what advice would you give yourself if you went back in time to, I don't know, to change anything in particular, or was everything perfect?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I don't think anything is perfect. I have had a wonderful business coach at one point who recommended that I read the Gifts of Imperfection, and
Hmm.
it's the premise really is that nothing is perfect, but it comes with these gifts. So, do we all have things, whether it's in business or personally, that we would have done different? Of course, I certainly do. It has not been a complete straight line, but what I can say is on the other side of that, I'm so grateful for the lessons learned, whether it be in business or personally as a wife and a mom. I think, again, we learn as we go. But, if there's one thing, gosh, that I would have done differently, I think I would have probably tried things more readily. Maybe taken more chances early on. Maybe moved to France for the year when,
Right.
I was
Love it.
very laser focused on, like, building my career and doing the right thing, and will my career be here for me if I, like, take a year and go explore, like, I think now I would say, like, "Of course it will, and you'll be more interesting as a result of it."
Yes.
So I think, if there's a whisper or a shout or just, a sign to take a leap, to do something different, than maybe is the norm, to maybe go with that a little bit more freely and not be quite as head down and quite as serious. I think I probably would have taken maybe a few more chances.
Well, that's good. That's great advice. And it's great advice for anybody who's listening. Think about that. I agree completely. If you you're really not going to get behind, I don't think at this point, if know your focus and you are focused, and you don't get that time back. I guess I wanted to always just after college just go be a ski instructor.
Yeah.
I'm in Colorado, and that's not where I grew up. I grew up in Indiana, but actually I grew up in South Bend, Indiana, right around the corner from Chicago.
Yes.
Obviously different level of size, but that was my goal. And no, I you couldn't do it. You got a job, and then all of a sudden you're in the mix, and
Yes.
before you know, you've got a mortgage, and like, kind of you lose all this time. And would I've lost time and space? I don't think I really would have gone backwards or been in a different spot necessarily, having taken time to do what you wanted to do. So I advise that to anybody. Take a chance. So anyway, Heather, hey, thanks for
Absolutely.
joining us. I definitely appreciate that. And thanks for everyone for joining us on the Business Edge. And this was a broker's perspective. And then Heather, if someone wants to get a hold of you or look into what you guys are doing, what's the best place to go or the best way to get a hold of you?
Sure. So our website is franklinrosecompanies.com. You can also email me at heather at franklinrosecompanies.com. And of course, you know where to find me. So if there's ever anything that I can help with, whether it's someone who's considering a career in real estate, in development, just wants to bounce some questions around. I just absolutely love talking with people who are considering this field. So always, always
That is awesome. Very generous of you. Awesome. Thanks again to everyone.